You're listening to Badge and Bars. One served behind the badge, the other served behind bars. Two different paths, two different sides of the justice system, but one common goal: to have real conversation about life, addiction, redemption, and the lessons they learned along the way. No scripts, no politics, no filters, just truth from both sides. This is Badge and Bars. Let's get into it.
Hey, it's
It's probably
Badge and
better.
Bars. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, Landon. How you doing?
All right, Landon.
Oh
Good to see you
gosh.
guys. What's up, Chris?
What's happening?
Not a whole hell of a lot.
So we're gonna dive
Nice.
into this one. We got a guest today, man of Faalaeio Poyer. I got some history with this man. Faalaeo, how about we just get started? How did we first meet, and how do you remember me from as a kid back in the day?
Well, I remember you as Big Bird. That
Big
was my name
Bird.
for Chris, Big Bird. Well, first of all, I'm Faalaeio Poyer. I work at Naysale Youth Camp. Um, well, before Naysale Youth Camp, I was in Texas. uh, Working at a max unit correction facility and interviewed here at Nassau Youth Camp. Decided I got here in '97. Shoot, I'm not sure the year that Chris was in there, but he was in there, big
About
kid.
20 years ago.
Yeah, and he had a little mohawk kind of haircut, but it was color. That's the reason why I call him Big Bird, because they like he had a little yellow in there. So I mean, it was a lot of kids. I had to be damn kids, I was like, oh God, that's Big Bird, because he was a big kid. I'm like, I'm gonna get that kid on my good side because I don't want him to get mad. But that's how we met. He was a young man that was made a poor choice and ended up being at Naysale Youth Camp. And I was a counselor there for juveniles and just trying whatever we can do to help our kids as far as anger management, if they need drug and alcohol counseling, or just talk because they're just kids who made poor ass choices and they, ended up getting locked up for it or adjudicated as we want to make sure we're correct about they weren't convicted, they were adjudicated, but they were there and yeah, that's how we met.
You know what I think about what's cool about you, Poyer, is through the years that I've known you, it's about 20 years now, you've always been involved with kids, whether it's at the juveniles or the school districts. What's made you stick with working with the youth and the at-risk youth over the years? Like, what, you have a love for it, you have a passion for it, you love working with kids.
Yeah, it's a great question because hardly anybody asked me that question, how I got into it. Um, I didn't know, like you go to college. I played football in high school. First of all, I got a scholarship to play football. Went in there, met the mother of my kids in college. Had kids when I was in college. Um, Came out of college and trying to find a job. I wanted to be a teacher. Um, a coach. When I, got to the real world, you know, only one of us was able to get a job. And the real world is like all of a sudden, after you pay your bills, you only have like $150 left in the check when only
Mm-hmm.
one of us is working, and so just looking for a job, um, as far as getting into the teaching, I had to wait. So, um, the mother of my kids, her name is Julie. She was like, "Well, I can apply for where she was working at." She majored in criminology, and that's where the direction she was going. And I went and applied. Uh, of course, my size at the time was a good like uh, I guess credit wise when somebody's looking at you and you're a college graduate, it's like, oh yeah, he can come in. So anyway, I got hired at the same spot, kind of moved up real quick. Was able to, I loved it. I discovered that I love working with kids, even when they're cussing at me. I'm like, even when they, I'm able to, I discovered that I had the patience for it, even though I didn't think I did.
Oh yeah.
and that was the one part that I learned about myself and working at Texas at this max unit, and I'm like, I got a kid that's, cussing at me, and they ended up recruiting me to be one of the security officer, for a juvenile place. That's the guys that come in and take you to lock you up at an isolation, you know. But it was I learned a lot from that place at this max unit. I learned a lot as far as dealing with young men with a lot of anger issues.
What
How
I'll
long
say
did you
about
And
work
what
there?
I'll what I'll say about
a couple of years. Yeah.
what I'll
Okay.
Sorry.
say about you, Poyer, is for any man that knows you, you are definitely a large man. You are a big person. So for a kid to cuss at you, you are a kind-hearted dude. Like you're just a loving guy. And I've known that over the years. You've always been like that, which is honestly one of the best traits I love about you. You're just a kind-hearted, loving man. Unfortunately, kids, like what percentage of kids in juvenile corrections go on to build a successful life? Like that's the harsh part about juveniles is
Yeah.
a lot of people get out and they keep rolling down the same road, which is it's the truth. What percentage of kids do you think actually do something with their life? I only know one from when I was in the facility, and I actually talked to him. Smathers, me and him want to go meet up. He runs
Yeah.
his own business. He's doing
Yeah.
good. He's a dad, and stuff like that's cool. But that percentage is pretty low, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, just like anything else, that depends on like you made a choice, Chris. You were talking about working at Texas when I first started working with these kids. Like you have to have a lot of patience and understanding they're just kids, right? And you talk about like I can't believe somebody will cuss at you. Well, those kids know that being in a place they're safe because that's my job. I'm not gonna beat up a kid just because they're cussing at me, but
Right,
they're
right.
hurt inside somewhere, right? Until that kid understands why or learns skills to deal with that anger and also to be able to understand themselves and why the way they are, and be able to work on themselves to better themselves, and they're going to continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And I, for one, know that as growing up, it's like I better get my stuff together, but I'm going to continue to do the same damn thing. And
Oh
watching
yeah.
you, Chris, as like somebody who I'm very proud of because watching you, and you did I remember when you came out and I saw you in downtown Astoria. I was in a bar. You walked in the bar, and I was like, I can't believe that this kid is in a bar with me. And
Yeah,
the next thing I know, I said, "Stay out of trouble." It's like, I will, Mr. P." And the next thing I know, they're dragging him out in the bar. Like,
I
dude, what's
wasn't,
going on?
I wasn't quite ready yet. I was still into a
No, no,
little.
right, right. No, no. But that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
asked what's the percentage.
right.
And that's tricky, right? Because it's like it all depends on the maturity level of that or anybody else. It's like anything in life, any person, and but here's the thing for me. The percentage in my numbers are high because if they are out of jail, staying out of places like they sell youth camp and getting locked up and there anything that's positive doing they have a job and they're at it and they're being there for their family, that's success.
Yep.
That's positive. So I am not like for you. You're a different case right now because you're excelling right now. Like you got your own system going on. You got two business going on, and you're rocking it. All right. For me to expect somebody else to do that, they might not be at that level yet. But for me, the success is like when I talk to some of the kids, they're still working they're working, they got a job, they're paying bills. And to me that's success. It's progress. And I don't know if that answers your question, but as far as like some of the young men that you mentioned that I've worked with at initial youth camp. That's I'm very proud of all of them. Like Smathers, Spencer, there's a lot of kids out there. Every time I go to Washington, I gotta watch what I go. Some kids recognize me, and like I went to Evergreen College one time, and I hear Mississippi like across campus, and this dude is running at me. I'm like Mississippi. I'm like, what the? I'm getting in my stance. I'm getting in my shot stance. I'm like, dude, I don't know who this kid is, but
Yeah.
I got this kid running up on me. It's like, you remember me? He remembers when I got Big Mac, so because he works DNR. It's like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
man, I always remember you bring, Big Macs, McDonald's. Shout out to our McDonald's at Astoria. They always provide me with free meal for the kids because planting season. Our kids, they plant trees, thousands of trees. They always provide us with meals for them. But to me, to answer your question, Chris, I don't want to keep blathering away here, but
No, you're
kids
good.
who are making progress in life, man, be there for their kids. 'Cause, that's success to me.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
question for you. You bring up kids,
Yeah,
and you're still talking to Chris. He's not no kid anymore. What is from the outside? What is
no,
the age that you work with to when you kind of stop working? Is that how it goes, or is it more like membership for life with your heart and how kind you are? How does it work?
uh, well, so depending on the job I so as far as my life, I started off working at the back end of of children's life, as when they are the result of when stuff is not going well, they get locked up. So I started off at that end. I
So you
got out
meet
and I
them
went.
in the jail.
Yeah, well, no, no, no. I mean, that's how I started off my career. And then I
Okay.
went and worked for, and then that was back in 97. 2017, I went and worked for CPS here in Astoria. So I tried to, I'm like, okay, I go CPS. I can work with families, keep them out of jail. That's a very difficult system. That's a
Yeah.
system, that's a very hard job.
Yeah.
A very difficult job working as a investigator for child protective services. There's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
power. To me, it's like there's a lot of power in the CPS's hand, and there's a lot of things that the investigators go through. Like, man, I had like coming home and like, did I make the right choice? Are those kids are going to be safe? You know what I mean? All
Yeah.
those things that goes on, and is like trying to keep up with the kids that you deal with most of the time. So, I
Yeah.
did that for a couple of years, and then life happens. I went visit a guardian of mine back in 2020. COVID hits, and I wasn't able to go. I went to back to Texas and tried to take care of my guardian, but I couldn't see him because he was in a home, and I'm like, I was kind of stuck. I didn't know where to go. So, I'm like, I'm going back to Astoria. So I drove back, and then on my way back, I ended up working at the school, doing what I'm doing now. So I
Okay.
working at the school as an on-track coach, back in COVID was just trying to help kids stay on track to graduate school. So from there, I went on.
Okay.
So now I am doing an engagement coach, which is for family and students. So basically, my job now is I work with families and students to help them with their attendance, and also the Astoria School District has allow me um, to help families out and parents, just to help the kids and just having a plan, because all kids are not
Right.
made to go to school, right?
No.
And
No.
sometimes here's what I discovered. Parents just don't know. Regardless if you are a great parent, you're there for your kids. Sometimes when you're dealing with your child that's being resistive and not wanting to go to freaking school, there's not a whole lot you can do, right? If you put your hands on them, so CPS going to be involved. So I try to, my job is the way I see my job is trying to be that liaison in between parents and their kid. It's like, well, allow me to yell at your kid, allow me to, tell them the same thing you're telling them, so that way that riff is not there between you guys.
Yeah.
And then maybe I mean, that's what I do now. And so the age is like when I first started this position, I worked elementary, middle school, The principal calls me like, hey, we have some extreme cases where, just parents are having a difficult time dealing with their kids. So, and I'll try to go in and talk to them and try to help come up with a plan in how we can get a kid to attend school or go to school. And sometimes it's
Okay.
just, so I work, but now the district has is such an important position that the district has hired another person to do the same thing at the elementary level, as well as, that we can share the responsibility.
Is there
So
anything that you can get them into, like sports or music, or set them up with stuff like that? Or does the school help out with if they did like guitar or, let's say, recorder back in elementary, to provide them
So,
something to maybe give them a little hope or give them some ideas?
well, the that's always there, right?
Okay.
So for my job, first of all, before we even like, I work with the extreme where they don't even show up to school. All
Okay.
right.
You got to like
So the
find
first,
them.
yeah, so it's like where parents is just like, I don't know what to do, but the parents don't, like they're not answering our call because there's a lot of phone calls that goes out if your kid is late, your kid is not in school. When we start tracking them when you're absent the first 2 or 3 days, we start tracking you because the law in Oregon is that if you are absent 10 straight consecutive days, you're automatically dropped from school. All right. So those words, when you tell that to a parent, they're like, "What?" the-" You know, like
Yeah.
now what do I got to do? It sounds like it's a difficult thing to go through, but then part of our job is to explain to them. It's like, well, parent be like, "Well, what do I got to do to get my kid back in school?" The only thing that kid has to do is show up and go to class,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? Just show up, go to class, and then we'll get you right back to your schedule. But because of whatever funding or whatever that may be, once it hits 10 days, they're dropped. But as soon as they show back up at school, attend school, then they're right back in their sign back up. But
So if I had a kid that didn't show up to school and it's say 6 days, I'm being notified by the school.
you'll be notified on the
What's your
first day.
first? Yes, but I'm saying once I get to that number where, as a parent, I'd
Yep.
start freaking out. What
Yeah.
is some of the stuff that you would do right away to reach out to them or get a contact or
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
meet them in person?
Absolutely, great question. Because there's a lot of parents. Again, when I say parents just don't know, there's a fear factor, embarrassment factor that goes on. That parents is
Yeah.
like, I don't want to call them because I'm so embarrassed. I don't know what to do. I can't get my kid to school. But
Or scared to
it's
lose
like
their kid.
scared to lose their kid. Or I'm gonna be in trouble by the law, or whatever that may be. Uh,
Yeah.
so if their kid is absent, a call goes out on the first day when they're absent. Second
Yeah.
day, another call goes out. Third day, another call goes out. Now they come on my list. Once they get on my list, it's like a priority for me. Now I'm tracking. Right?
Yeah.
I do everything. I communicate uh everything that I can as far as text, phone call, message, Facebook message. I try to be very, you know, appropriate and just as friendly as I can to say, hey, please give me, just trying to work with them. Let me
Yeah.
know, just, if your son is sick or something's going on, just call the attendance office, let them know, because that's all they have to do is parents to call the attendance office, say, hey, my kid is sick, they won't be in today.
Yeah.
Right now we
Yeah.
know we had communication. Right now, if you say that's day number 4, and we go to 5, 6, and 7, and they're still absent, and I continue to talk to the parent, and they're still sick. My next question would be, well, did you take your kid into the hospital or urgent care? Is there something that we can do to help out? Because it's just like, yeah, if your kid is that sick, you that can also fall into neglect. If your kid is that sick, did you take them into the urgent care? And you know, so that way, if there is something wrong, the doctor can send us a note. So that way, our nurse, can have a record. So that way, everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
So when it goes to, when we write a note on there that there's a doctor's note, blah blah blah, will be absent at this amount of time. The counselors and the principal and the vice principal will all know. So and that makes it easy for us to kind of track. We don't miss any kid that's absent, and
So
also
do you
just
have an
making sure.
office at the school?
I do. I'm in
Okay.
a. I'm in. It looked like a closet in the back of the library.
Yeah, because
Mr. P's office.
Yeah. So
I ask
I.
about that because we have in our city, we have school resource officers. I don't think you guys have
Yeah,
any, do
yeah,
you?
yeah.
So it's like,
Seaside does. Seaside has a resource. Police officers that are truant officers.
yeah,
Is it you guys have
because
a truant officer?
up in Washington, we have school resource officers. So they're at the schools, junior highs, elementaries, high schools,
Are
whatever
are
the
are they
major problem is.
are they police officers that are working as
Absolutely.
resource? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Astoria School District went away from that. We used to back when my
Yeah.
my kid was were in school. At Astoria, they used to have um resource office, but they kind of went away from that. And kind of came up with this position, engagement coach. Because it's about building. I mean, it all comes down to building relationship. Like how
Yep.
how
Yeah.
can we get those kids back into school? Well, threatening them with stuff or like blah blah blah, pointing that finger is not going to help that parent to be open for communication. It's not going to
Yeah.
help that kid. I mean, all you're doing is going to cut out communication, and that's the thing right now. I'm a total believer of it. It's like building relationship beyond just a school. So if a kid does not want to go to school, it's like, well, okay, what do you want to do? It's like, I'm gonna do the GED. How can I help you with that? So it is also for us, even though our school district have nothing to do with doing the GED. We used to, and I think that hopefully in the future that we're able to provide those kind of thing. Like the college has a great GED program, right? So it's
Okay.
like and I communicate with them as well. Like, also they have it's a law that in order for them to sign up for the GED program, if you're under 18 and 16, 16 and under 18, that you need a letter from the high school on the district you go to in order for you to participate in the GED program. And a lot of people don't know that, right? So that's those are the kind of things that I help parents out with, and also kids that want to do the GED. Like I even get to a point, the district pays for my mileage to be able to go knock on kids' door, be able to help kids out, kind of navigate whatever it is that they need, to get to school, to get them started at the GED program. Also to take tours at what you call it, what you can learn this Job Corps.
Yeah.
Oh
We
Job
yeah.
try
Corps.
to I
Trade
try to
school.
set, yeah, because not everybody's made for school,
Yep.
and it's there's a lot of kids that want to go to online school right now, and I think that I heard some rumors that our school district are going to start an academy, as far as online school, K through or first grade through eighth grade, which is great. And I wish that we have an online academy for the high school, right? Because there's a lot of kids that don't want to come to school, right?
Yeah. Do you think that started after COVID?
I
Was
think
that
so.
a thing before?
I mean, you always have those kids that don't want to go to school. But here's
Yeah,
the
but
thing:
when there's no option.
yeah, for me, it was like for my take on it, it's like COVID brought in a lot of stuff, like parents, right? The parents that uses the system of COVID with having anxiety and having can't go to work, all those things was influenced. That's just what my take is. This is what my
Yeah.
take is. I just think that there were a lot of parents out there that like using that to whatever collect benefits, blah blah blah, whatever that may be. And their kids are like sponges. Like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if that's what they're gonna do, I'm gonna do that too, right? If I'm too sick to go to work, or I'm too sick to go to school,
Yeah.
I mean, and it starts from that. Yeah, I mean, I totally believe that that's what starts from me. There's a couple of parents that I had to, my job also deals with a lot of generational, because I mean, I have family that I deal with. There's single parents out there that they have. I work with a older child and a middle child, and there's one, two, or three that's still in elementary school. You know what I mean? So
Jeez.
it's like one of
Yeah.
those things that you have to build this relationship and build and also help with changing the culture of that family, as far as making going to school as like a norm. This is we're going to school,
Yeah.
and so
Do you work with officers at all? Like when you say that, it
I
strikes
do.
me as like a cop when I was out and about. I'd be like driving my beats or whatever, and I'd see kids at times that no other kids are out, and I'm like, this is awkward. So
Yeah,
I would try to. It's called social contact, where no
yeah,
lights, no nothing. There's no reason to stop it unless I want to just
right,
talk like a normal person.
right,
Um, and a lot of times they would talk to you, and they were just, yeah, I didn't want to go to school today, and I'm like, okay, so we let our school resource officer know.
right.
They
Yeah,
can't get in trouble with me or any of that. But do you work with the cops in town? And uh,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing I bring to the table, right? When I first started this position, is that they know that with through my CPS, contact, because I still in contact with them, law enforcement contact all the way from our whole county,
yeah,
and also I participate in a multidisciplinary team, so to have that connection with, district attorneys, CPS, or whoever
yeah,
that's in there, because I use them because if I'm looking for, because some kids, that they get into, they, they have a case for it in on CPS with CPS, and so you got to know that, that there's stuff going on
mm,
at home,
yeah,
and sometimes, teachers don't know that a lot. So sometimes if kids are not communicating to the counselors, none of us are going to know about it. Even if they do, there's
yeah.
some counselors out there that don't talk to us about it. It's like, well, then you find out. So you kind of communicate that a little bit, like, hey, this kid's not coming to school because there's stuff at home. So
Yeah, me and Chris
it's
have talked about that in the
yeah,
aspect of like, Chris was saying, like, there's not a lot of people with no authority talking to kids because kids are afraid to talk to cops. Like I say all the time,
yeah,
I'd approach kids and, but I also don't necessarily approach kids that maybe Chris was like when he's
yeah,
doing
yeah,
drugs and that. But it's like,
yeah.
do you have other people besides you that kids can reach out to when the counselor's somebody they don't want to talk to or a teacher where they're like, I don't care about you. You don't understand the struggle I'm going through.
Yeah,
Chris has said that to me and I'm like, yeah, there needs to
yeah,
be more people like Chris that have gone through stuff and be able to talk to him or like a cop
yeah,
that sees it from the other side and's like, hey, we do have a heart. We are compassionate. We want to
yeah.
help you out. We're not here to get you in trouble. Do you have anything like that?
Well, we don't have. I mean, Chris and I talked about it when you guys took your, which I thought was a great idea as far as the mentor program. With you guys doing the cleaning with the district. And I think um we don't have a mentorship program. I wish we did. There's something. Excuse me. There's something that's I hope that our people that make a lot of money make decisions like, like I would love for, because we talk about it with Mia and my immediate supervisor and some of the people that are counselors and attendance officers, staff
Yeah.
in our school, and we talk about how can we get kids to respond. And a lot of kids, they're not going to respond to any adult most of the time, right? But how can we get our seniors, our older kids to be involved in being peer mentorship, that kind of thing, especially middle school coming into high school,
Yeah.
you know, that support to make it where, you know,
Easy
um,
transition.
easy transition, right? And I mean, even at our middle school, it's like, so like my job, right? My job is like it's like we have what we call on-track coaches, and they help kids. If you are haven't turned in your homework and you're like have Fs, one of the things we our on-track coaches try to do and work with the teachers to get that kid up to speed as far as that grade is concerned, and be up to speed with that class. Because the one thing you don't want to do is bring in freaking kids back to school and then they go to class and they're so freaking behind and everything is the teacher's talking about is going over their head, and
Yeah, they
that's
feel
like the number
dumb.
one reason. Yeah, well, that's the number one of the number one reason, right? Is like kids don't want to come back. It's like the embarrassment factor of and the fear of looking stupid or being judged, right?
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that stuff, right?
Especially when a
A lot
kid
of
doesn't want to go to school and then he's
yeah,
forced into it and then he looks dumb or she looks
yep,
dumb. It's
right,
insecurity and then they lash out and they don't know what they're doing.
right.
And
So having things as kind of put in place to help the support group for those kids that are coming in are going through that. And
yeah.
that's something that I think our school needs to talk about more. If we like if it was me, I would have like we only have two on-track coaches and we have this class called a success class that's led by I'm gonna say her name is Chapman. She's the boss and she runs that program, that class, and a big help to all the kids to stay on track. And I
Yeah.
think we need. I wish we had two more or four more or six more on track coaches and have three more classes of success class so to have better support. And it's like
Yeah.
to I mean you can't have too much support for
No.
kids. You
How
know,
when you say that, I keep thinking about me and Chris's idea on clean the outside of the school,
yeah,
clean the
yeah.
inside of their hearts and brains and give them some type of assembly like where it takes us a couple days to clean the school and then they see us at the school after that. We have an assembly on Friday or something and we tell Chris's story, I tell my story. We open up to people and we allow them to
See,
contact us. It's like they see it now and now they can reach out. Is that even something?
well,
Um,
because I don't know. Like I said, all the people that make all that money, to make those decisions. It's like so. Obviously, the reason why because our superintendent already they have a contract or whoever that is. And when
yeah,
I heard of that, I'm like, I said to Chris, like, there's got to be another way for you guys to come into that, right? And it's like, having uh
C- Could even have the kids participate in cleaning the school with us and learn work ethic and that.
Well, because they, I don't know the details of the contract of the people that have to clean the outside because it has something to do with the city. Has been an all. I have no idea,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
there is like you can come in another where like because you guys know the dealerships that are around our area, right? And they can sponsor those things, right?
Right.
To come in that area and work with the school where if you're allowed to work with the school and to be a mentor for those kids, they can come help you clean those whatever those dealerships that will help you
yeah.
sponsor that because they're already involved. Those dealership are already involved in like drive for your school
Supporting. Yeah,
supporting the community. They all are from Dane Gouge to Lums to Chevy. All of them are always supporting. Or even you know like all this the restaurants that are here. I know Bubba's, Fortanos, to Mark Carrier, Fortanos in Astoria, Warrenton. They are always in support of those things. So it like to eh, you can come in that way because you for you guys to have a mentorship. I mean that's what a lot of these kids need, right? Is to like who can I
yes,
reach out to, and but it's not just like well, kids are, I give them my cards, like, hey, call me if you need something, right? Call me, like, there are kids out there when they're in desperate situation, that when they're hungry and homeless, I will get that call and like look, I'm a part-time, I work 6.75 hours. I work part-time, but I answer the phone 7 days a week at any time.
nice.
Anytime a kid or a parent texts me, I will text them back because again, that's the part of the commitment as far as building that relationship, right? Because
Absolutely.
if I'm looking for a parent and they only text me at 7 o'clock at night when they get off of work, that's the time I'm going to talk to them. All right, and
Yeah,
so I am appreciative of the Mr. Jackson and Mr. Masson. And Mr. Jackson is the one that kind of started it all, allowing me to do that, allowing me like I had to get him to give me a phone. It's like, yeah, you gotta get me a phone, so that way people can call me because I wasn't gonna allow them to call me on my personal phone, but they were able to get me a
Yeah.
phone, so that was great. So
After
it's a
after spending so
sorry, go
much
ahead.
time with kids over no, I was gonna say after spending so much time with kids over the decades, working with young people, what gives you hope, working with kids so much?
You know, working with kids on both sides is crazy because just because I work with kids on the juvenile part or the part of not wanting to go to school, I mean I also coach. I coach sports.
Yeah.
You know, I I've been coaching football, but I also do individual workouts with kids who want to like for volleyball and basketball. So a lot of time kids would text me and say, "Hey, coach, can you work with me?" And usually my time to do that is like 6 in the morning. And
Jeez.
so I don't charge kids or parents for that, but it's the fulfillment for me is a commitment of that kid to come in and put in work. Because
Yep.
like the first thing I will tell that kid, like, look, I'm not gonna baby you. Like, I need you to come in, during our
If you
workouts,
want it, come get
right?
it.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So it's a teaching of the mindset, right? So it's a lot of kids don't understand that, right? It's the mindset, like, I talk to these athletes also is just um, when because they talk to me and my young son is with me. My young son is back in Astoria, Jeremy. He is the defensive coordinator for the football team. Um,
Nice.
First of all, my boys, my oldest is Jordan. He's still in Florida, kind of going on, just finished 13 years in the NFL and kind of wanting to still waiting, I guess, to see if anybody's gonna pick him up. But
Wow.
it's kind of nice to have, well, for my kids to go and play college and then one in the NFL, it kind of gives you some sort of street credit a little bit, where kids are like, oh, because
Yeah.
kids love, that status stuff, right? And of course, we run a lot of camps here, so a lot of these kids are growing up. They know who I am. It's like, oh, that's Jordan Poyer. I am no longer Coach Poyer. I'm Jordan Poyer's dad.
Nice.
That's who
Yeah.
I am. That's
That's
Jordan
pretty
Poyer's
cool.
dad.
Well,
But
that's
those are the
I was gonna say that's what both of my kids said. I said They're Jordan Poyer's dad. I was like, yes,
yeah,
because they both they
yeah.
both they both came to Poyer's camp.
Yeah, so that's a big help. And my kids, for 11 years, just they've been coming here to give back to the community in some way or form or another. But shoot, what was the question again?
I was gonna say
Oh,
what gives you hope after spending decades with kids. What's the hope in it?
no, my kids, they have the hell did you just say? So I went to my first football camp, team camp ever at George Fox in the hottest freaking weekend of the year. I was there like 99, at 12 o'clock at midnight. It was hot, but I'm excited. So the hope is that I see progress, right?
Yep.
Um, to me, it's just if I'm able to reach any kid, any level, making progress, I'm excited. I just can't wait to talk to that kid again. To
But
see where and how I can help with that kid. And it's there's a being a student is hard. Being a student athlete is even harder. And just
Yeah.
being just trying to go to school is like I never like when I went to school, I didn't give a damn. My mindset was different. We were talking about mindset here. My mindset was like I didn't care about what people thought about me. Right?
Yep.
Of course, I'm the youngest of 14. I've been on my own since high school. Paid rent, school in Texas. I lived with a teacher, went to school. I
yeah.
already knew what the hell I was doing. I was gonna do. Right? And I didn't care what other people were thought about me. Shoot, my dad died when I was 4, my mom died when I was 9. It's like, my goal is I'm moving forward. I'm not going to
Yeah.
allow everything that's happening to me to dictate what my life or have excuses for my life, right? But it's like trying to change kids' mindset about the difference between a good player and a great player. And I asked a kid that, and they're like, I don't know, practice harder. I was like, no, man, the difference is like you wake up. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Like I eat breakfast. Like who
Make
wakes you up? Oh, my mom. Do you have an alarm clock? Yeah. How many times you hit the snooze button? Oh, 3, 4 times. So I say, here's the mindset. The mindset is that when your alarm clock goes off the first time, you turn it off and get up.
Yep.
yes.
You clean your room. You make your bed.
The bed.
The
Yeah.
difference, that's the mindset, right? It's like you got to do things differently. Like if you're just waiting for somebody to come and, turn on your light and, put coffee in front of you and blow it so you can smell it so you can wake up. No, you're still depending on other people to
Take care of you.
take care of you, or you have to make the difference. It's like if you go to practice and you just do what the coaches tell you to do, that's great, but what are you doing outside of practice? What are you doing on your own to make yourself better? That kind of thing, and
Yeah. And those
trying
little
to
mindset changes actually
yeah,
boost ego. And the littlest thing is
yeah,
making your bed in the morning, right? Especially when you come back home, even if you had a bad day and you come back home and you
yeah,
come into a nice bed, it's like that's amazing thing that they don't even think about. But it's like not
right,
only did you start your day accomplishing one little task, now you got
yeah,
the whole rest of the day ahead of you. So yeah,
yes, man,
it's crazy. Little
and then, just little things is like the difference between touching the line. People are always like, why do I gotta
yes.
touch the line? Right? Football is a game of interest, right?
Yes.
And if you don't touch that line, you ain't gonna score. So it's like, yeah, touch the line, and so and it's self discipline, right?
Yep.
It's like the character. It builds your character. Like you can hold yourself accountable by touching that dang line without anybody, looking at you or trying to hold you accountable. Hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. Is So for me, it's like like coaching football again right now. It's like I'm excited because there's a lot of kids out there that are just raw talent. You
Yeah.
know, it's the craziest thing ever. Look, I saw this kid. I'm no joke. In all my years of being at the high school, I've never seen a kid. Even when I was in Texas, maybe I saw a couple of kids in Texas. Right, Dennis Harris, who high jumped 7 feet.
Jeez.
When he was in high school. And Texas had a lot of athletes. You got to be good to play football in 5A school in Texas, right? We had 5 football teams, 2 freshmen, sophomore JV, and a varsity. Yeah, you're not going to start as a sophomore unless you're really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So, but I had this kid. I was like at Astoria High School. I go to the weight room, and this kid puts on like the 20-inch boxes, for jumping up the vertical stuff, and he puts two of them together, and he just stands there and he jumps up, just stand there and jump up and land on top of this. And I'm like, it kind of got my attention, right? I'm like, hey man, what's your name? He's like, what's your name? He's like, oh yeah, he told me his name, and like, do that again. Stood there, like in all my years, I mean, I've never seen somebody do that, right? Just stand there and jump up. And I said, "You play any sports?" They're like, no. I'm like, how come? How come you don't play basketball? It's like, oh, I did, but it's just, it's just it's kind of as far as running plays and stuff. He didn't like it because it was too much for his head, right? So it's like, well, you should come play football. Come play defense for me. It's like you can be a defensive back and just hit people in the mouth, right? He's like, oh, are you serious? It's like, and to for me to tell a kid like, listen, and for a kid to know who I am, that's like I have never seen a kid do that. Even my kids, I have never seen, even at your age, to see a kid. My kid can't do that, And for him to say, "Are you serious?" Like, yeah, dude, that's because vertical tells you a lot of things, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's the reason why when you go to combine, they have to take your day vertical bench press. You're 40, but it, for there's a lot of explosion on that kid as far as as a DB coming downhill, there's a lot of speed there, and he can get up and be a good receiver if he catch the ball. I even asked him, can he catch the ball? It's like, oh yeah. He's like, I think I'm gonna try out track. So I was like, I was excited. I mean, that's how excited I'm. Then I go out and start recruiting kids.
Nice.
I go walk around school and I'm like, hey man, do you play any sports? These big kids, man, 6'4", 6'5". I'm like, and they're not even playing any sports. I'm like, dang,
Do
you
you
can play
ever
football.
use, I don't want to say use them, but do you ever talk with them and try to help out other kids, like mentoring in that aspect where, hey, there's this kid, he's, going to the gym, you want to join him, anything like that?
Uh, well, like if just picking just a random kid, or if a kid is having like some like want to work out or want to do something but don't know what to do or how to do it.
Yeah, like sometimes, I mean, as the cop in me, it's like I have to uh get to know a kid super quick because uh they're just gonna walk away. But if you learn
Right,
what maybe they like, and then
right,
he comes and goes, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he does like lifting weights, or he
right,
does push-ups randomly. Maybe
right,
when you meet this other kid, it's like, hey, do you know he's in the gym? I could put you guys in contact and you guys go to the gym together or anything like that. That it's
right.
just like a peer to
So
peer mentor.
it's it, yeah, it all depends on the kid. So if
Yeah.
I'm talking to a kid and all of a sudden, the kid doesn't have any interest on anything that I'm trying to poke at.
Yeah.
If the kid is not talking to me and just trying to evade and avoid and go and like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna push the issue. But you got a kid like I talking, is a great example. A kid is like, he talks about he working out. It's like, and then he's like, do you, but he's always sore the next day. I said, do you ever go to the sauna and, sit in the sauna, after you work out, kind of,
You stretch.
loosen up your, yeah, or stretch, right? And yeah, so yeah, you should stretch before and after you work out and sit in the sauna. So usually when I go in the sauna, I put the sweatshirt on. Chris, we were in the sauna. Chris and I have been in the sauna before together.
Yeah,
I,
this guy would be in the sauna with a full sweatsuit on. I'm like, man, you're crazy, dude.
oh yeah, with my beanie on, shoot,
Oh yeah.
I mean, turn it up, But I mean, I had to learn that. So when I was in Texas, man, I had to learn to get used to the heat. Even though in Texas is 110, to get ready for 2 days in high school, I turn on our car, turn on the heater, put on my sweatsuit, park the car out in the sun, and then go sit in the car, for about, but
I I got a couple
yeah,
more
every now
before
and then,
before this is over. So like me and you, I've known you for 20 years. So it's been about 20 years
yeah,
now. And I mean, you've come over to my house, you've seen my kids, we go to lunch every
yeah,
now and then. Are there a lot of kids that you have that relationship with through the years where like they call you? I mean, like you're a friend to me. Well, I'll call you tomorrow. We'll go to
yeah.
lunch. We'll go sit down and eat lunch. Are there a lot of kids that you've acquired that relationship with through your work that you still talk to today that have grown up and like, is there a large number of kids like that?
Well, yeah, well, they're not kids now. They're men. They're
Correct.
married. They own their business, right? Yeah, we
Got
go
Correct.
two
golfing.
businesses.
Yeah, one of them. We work at the golf course together, and one of them is this kid that I've coached there is now my boss at the golf course because I work at the golf course as well.
Yep.
So he's a superintendent at the golf course. You know, Alex Eterno coached him as receiver, but the head basketball coach.
Yep.
So for Astoria. So there are we go golfing together, but I don't see them as you know it's crazy because all of them are we see each other and they're all I'm talking to their kids,
Adult.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all adults, and I'm watching like Dane Lund, probably one of the best linebacker. Dane Lund played baseball for Oregon State, caught a no hitter for Oregon State, played baseball D1. Probably one of the best linebackers I've ever watched play. He's got the nose for the football. But he's I don't know, 5'6", 5'7". If he was
Jeez.
6 feet tall, I guarantee you he'll be playing in the pros. That
Yeah.
kid had a nose for the football. He was just yeah, I mean, that whole class, was great to watch. But I still, talk to him. a lot of them, there's a deeper connection between you and me, and so we check in with each other with lunch,
Yeah.
which I love, and I try to do that with a lot of my friends, which I feel bad when I don't do that with my friends to reach out, like, and just connect with my friends, and I'm like, man, but sometimes life happens, and you got to go to
Yes.
work,
Yes, it does.
you know,
Did I
I got
did I ever did I ever tell you I went to Naso Youth Camp with my oldest Tucker? Did I ever tell you that story?
is that the one
Well,
with all the pictures you have?
no, so we went there, and this is when he was kinda going through the stuff in school, and we went there, and it was closed, and
Oh,
of course, Chris, we hopped the fence of Nacelle, and we start walking back, and there's somebody back there working, and they're, like, stop me, they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I gave him, like, a 5-minute rundown of my life, and the guy looked at me, he's like, "You can walk wherever you want, man, take your kid." So I went up to Harbor Lodge, up to the 2nd story on the left side, and I pointed in that window, and I
yeah,
said, "Your dad, who didn't wanna listen to the rules and didn't wanna listen to what people told him, sat in that room right
yeah,
there for a year, and there's a reason why I'm
yeah,
hard on you. There's a reason why I'm trying to instill these things in you."
man,
Oh yeah.
It gave me chills.
yeah,
I was
it's
walking down the
crazy.
path with my hands behind my back like I never left.
I don't mean to laugh, but yeah,
No, yeah, I
hey,
mean, it was
It's
kinda funny.
real.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like I remember the first time I worked there and that door slammed, it kind of jerked me. I mean, I kind of like, like what the hell? It's like going to a max unit in Texas and you're going through gates
yeah,
and that gate shuts. I had like little nightmares about it for the first week that I work at, in Texas Max. Yeah, the games that Nate Youth Camp that like a staff had to play, right? I mean, I have my kids. I two of my boys. They love going to Nate Youth Camp because we have these friendship days and we cook. You know, uh, and they would go there, eat food. It was crazy because a lot of the kids would watch my kids play football on
yeah.
TV, and so it was great. And then I think it was one of the best part of it because that's probably the most like to me is like one of the normal like the most normal thing that those kids can go through to make their life feel like they're not locked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Just
I was gonna say, unfortunately, I've been locked up in many different places,
yeah,
adult facilities, King County Jail, juvenile, and Nacelle was, yeah, you're locked up, but you get to work, you walk down and go to
yeah,
school, you walk like it is a more normal thing to where you're not just in a steel box and then they have to
yeah,
just throw you out and go back to life. Like they work with you
right,
guys, it's as a kid,
yeah,
you're a kid and you're not just thrown in and forgotten about. Like they try to work with you. And it's unfortunate that place is shut down because that was actually,
yeah.
I,
I think they need more Nacelle Youth Camp because
yeah,
So I don't know, Landon. I mean, Nacelle Youth Camp was a work camp. We have
Nice.
so a lot of those guys are they work for the Department of
DNR.
Natural Resources, and we plant
Okay.
trees. Every from Nacelle all the way up to 101, they plant a lot of those trees, and then also they train to get their red card to fight fires. And we go to
Yeah.
state fires, and type 2 crews, it's just digging lines. And so a lot of private firefighter crews they're in even the state of Oregon, if you get released and they're not on parole, they will pick you up because you're already trained. You already got your red card. They don't have to
Oh
pay
yeah,
money
yeah.
for you to train. So they just, and then they sign you up. It's like, and then if you are on parole or probation, they like it even better because now they have something hanging over you. Well, you can't mess up. You
Yep.
mess up, well, I'll just call you probation officer. That kind of thing. So there's a lot of those things. I deal with all of that now with school, with my job just to find out if a
Yeah.
kid's on probation or parole
Is that
because
maybe a company we can reach out to you brought up dealerships and that kind of thing to sponsor?
I
Is
could,
that something that might sponsor
I could
or
figure some things out on there.
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Chris knows all of them. I mean you guys he's cleaned their car, but
He's been in there.
having the concept is yeah, having the concept of what would that look like? How can I
Yeah.
help the kids? How can I tie that in with a mentorship? How can like even get some of their employees and I don't know a mentorship program. How can you guys maybe get some of the seniors involved in where it's a senior project trying to create a mentorship
Yeah.
program to help out kids who are willing to call like, hey, to or like there's a lot of like you start this thing, it's not just wash your car, but like, hey, let's do a lunch,
Yeah.
and not just washing, but having a little barbecue, having a little and just chat, right? And whatever it is that you guys, and I think that even for instead of doing it like for you guys to come in and tell your story, instead of doing it during the school time, finding a time outside of school, where you will hold that, where you can come in and talk to the school about Christmas stories and your story and what does that look like, and and like I guarantee you, I'm a I know for a fact that food is a source of a very good thing. People love food. If there's free food out there,
Yes, we
people are gonna
do.
show the hell up. They're gonna
Yeah,
show up,
that's
right?
always.
And it's like, oh shoot. When I first started doing the youth football program back in the day, and I was like, we need to have a parent meeting. Of course, I go out, reach out, so I'll tell you a story about my kids. My kids hate this. When I first started the youth football program, I was trying to raise money because I was going to do a conditioning camp for my kids that are coming in.
Okay.
Nobody does conditioning camp for youth football, But my mindset again, here I am about my mindset, right? Like these guys are gonna get ready. They're gonna be ready to go play football. And my mindset is like I treat it just like if I was went to college, So and that's the it's like but anyway, my kid, I would write this letter. My kids, I parked downtown Astoria. We walked down and walked back, and my kids would go in the businesses, right, and see if I can get sponsors for like doing a shirt, a camp shirt, and all that good stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
I did that for about a year or two, and then I met Dane. I called Dane. He said, "How much money you need?" And he called another person. Like, I got you $3,000. So like, holy crap, that was fast. So I learned real quick. It's who you know sometimes that will help
Oh
you
yeah.
out. But my kids hate it like Jordan and Jeremy. I mean, I had them practice their speech and all, but
Yep.
a lot of, I mean, my kids nowadays is like, Pops, you did good, But yeah, those, I think Chris has got a connection that you guys can go in and you
Yep.
know, I I am sure that if you guys get a concept going on and how you can help kids, people will buy in, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you help anybody who works with kids, if you're not wanting to improve how to build relationship with the kids that are in your school, then something's wrong. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, yeah, my kid, he is doing. I'm so proud of my young one because he's just like into getting kids involved, and I told him like if you wanna relate to your kids and be a better coach, know your kids. So he now works for our school, and he's gonna do his little run next week with some of the kids and have breakfast, and just
That's
Yeah.
cool.
talk about life. So I
That's
I
mean,
even
got it.
some of the kids
yeah,
that reach out to us and are like, "I'm starting a pressure washing business," and all me and Chris will definitely take our time
ah,
and talk to people that ask. And it's like the last one I just talked
yeah,
to a couple days ago. I said, "What you need to do is get educated. You need to know your product to be able to go actually use it and
mm.
feel secure about it." So when you say that,
How
it's
how
like,
do how
yeah,
do
we're
kids do that?
how do kids do what?
Like, what would be a first step for a kid to go learn about chemicals and those kind of things as far as
YouTube Nation.
doing
So like
what you guys do?
first things first, like YouTube Nation, you can basically learn anything on that. Um, but what I would recommend
Mm,
for kids to do is contact businesses and ask them questions. Don't try to secret shop them.
mm,
Don't try to do any of this stuff and steal pricing because pricing is proprietary to each business. So that's going to change.
yeah,
But if you call a place like me or Chris, AWP, Pearl Exterior, we will literally help you answer questions that you're having trouble with, um, and do that kind of thing. So this industry that we're in, service industry, I've realized there's really no competition in that aspect. There's houses all over the Pacific
yeah,
Northwest that need us. And if I can help some kid that like me,
Right.
like Chris, didn't go to college for 4 years, didn't get a degree. And it's like there's kids out there that could be glorious and run businesses
Yeah.
and they just don't know yet. They haven't been, you know,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
put up on a pedestal, but they haven't been supported in the aspect of like, hey, this little
Yeah.
4 gallon a minute machine that cost a few $100, you can go make
Yeah.
thousands of dollars with it. But you need to learn the product. You need to learn how safe you need to be, you know, what chemicals burn certain
Right.
things. And what I guess to answer that very shortly is reach out to other businesses that have started and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
more mom and pops
Yeah.
and commercial. But
Right.
that's kind of where me and Chris are at is, uh, you know, his dad ran a business, my mom ran a business, small town style, and want to
Right.
help the youth and, you know, get people out of depression or their job if they're stuck in a W-2 and they just don't believe in themselves. We're all about it. So on our
Oh,
aspect, it's
Uh,
reach out to us. We're on Facebook, Instagram,
yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah. Yeah.
YouTube.
No, that's
We got
awesome.
this podcast. So
I wanted to throw a couple
No,
more out there. We're
I
getting close
appreciate.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey. No, no. I just want to. I appreciate what you guys do, and love Chris's videos. When he's posting them. So
mhm.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate him just reaching out and just still trying to give back because
Yeah.
that's a big component of trying to help out our young kids.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'll just say this. When I started doing the videos, I wanted to do more than the videos. That's when I sat in my shop and I started sharing my story, my backstory, drug addiction, crime. And I sat there on published on Facebook and I'm like, man, what are people going to think of me? I shouldn't do this. And I'm just like, screw it, dude. And I just started posting stuff and sharing my story of transparency of who I used to be, what I've been
Right.
through. And that is, I have had hundreds of kids reach out to me on social media. Hey, dude, like I'm going through this. I've been through this. How did you do it? How are you being so successful?
Right.
What have you done? So that to me is like my why. Like, why do I do that? I don't do it for fame or attention. Like, I merely do it just because I know there's tons of kids out there just like me, like lost,
Right.
misdirected, don't know what they want to do. And maybe they don't want to be a pressure
Right.
washer. That's fine. But it's like, dude,
No.
you could do anything. You could do anything. You just,
Anything.
But
yeah.
you're
And I
hitting
mean,
on it, Chris. Yeah, you're hitting on it. You're hitting on the fact that you know kids. There's a guy out there that I love to listen to because he goes out and talks to school, and maybe you know like for you to talk to kids and to get an attention for kids to talk about first being judged, right?
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of kids are, of what they're going through, who they are, and how to deal with, pressure and from home, pressure from school, pressure from friends, and just like a lot kids and adults and just people in general, just they haven't taught skills. They haven't learned skills on how to deal
yeah,
with peer pressure, group pressure, or any kind of pressure, how to, you know, to let things go, how, to deal with their anger, how to just not jump on that train of thought about how to respond to negativity, or listen to the outside noise. You know,
yeah,
um, a lot of those things. But those are the little things I think that I'm so proud of with you is the fact that your mindset has changed.
yeah,
Your mindset has changed because you went from like, I mean, you took control of your life. You owned it. You put yourself out there in a vulnerable position, which I think that's one reason why people love the fact that you about your story. Like, when my oldest son told his story, people was coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry." I was like, "What? Why are you saying sorry to me for?" My kid went viral.
yeah,
ESPN. But as a parent, it's like, man, uh, I'm proud of the fact that he's able to change his mindset and say, and own it, right? And own like what was going on, and then to do something about it. And that's what I love and proud of you. The fact that you own it and you're allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be and use whatever it is that to help somebody else. And I'm very proud of you. Shoot, I am. blessed and just privileged to be able to see you go through this change. And I love your mindset, man. It was like,
I appreciate that, and I think the most important thing about that is I am still human. I still get angry. I still make
yeah,
mistakes. I'm not perfect.
yes,
I have just learned to be better and more
yes,
better every single day or as time goes on.
yeah,
It's not an overnight thing, but I just
yeah,
started being authentic. That's the best word is
Yeah.
it's
yes,
authenticity. It's like this is who I am, and if you don't like it, that's fine. This is who I used to be. This is who I'm becoming, and it's just all out there, you know? I don't
yeah.
there's nothing to hide, and the last question I wanted to ask you is if, you know, kids watching, what's one message that you would want kids, whether it's troubled youth or just kids in general, what would one message be that you'd want kids to hear from you?
Well, it said, don't be afraid to try, or don't be afraid to ask for help. Oh, don't be afraid to try things. Don't be so quick to, you know, don't be so quick to judge
Yeah,
things out there, because, and just, don't be, um, it's hard. It's hard being a kid, and don't be afraid to talk to somebody about what's going on. It doesn't matter
absolutely.
if it's
Abs-
positive or negative,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to reach out and ask somebody, because it's one of my biggest fears, right? It's like the bottom line is every parent, they want their kids to reach out to them when they're are in like deepest of troubles,
Yeah.
yeah,
and it's like I um can't fathom it when your kid is in deep trouble and they're not reaching out to you because they're afraid. That's crazy, right? And that's one of my biggest fears. Like, I had to change my mindset and how I deal with my kids when they were young, because back in the days, like, go see your dad. You're the Punisher. Go see your dad. You're in trouble. I had to change the way I. Growing up in a very, I'm an islander, and a lot of islanders. I mean, that's another story itself. When you're talking about respect from an islander, if you're a Samoan kid, you grew up and you respect elders. You always respect your elders. But
Quick
it's a
story
respect
about
by. Go
Samoans.
ahead.
I grew up with a kid named Justin Samwelu. I was more scared of his mother than his father.
Yeah.
She was
You
very
know. But
Samwelu.
it's and
Yep,
hope. I'm very proud of my kids. They're not perfect kids, but me and their mom done the best that we can to try to, you know, teach them to be better people.
yeah.
And my boys, they're like, every year they always call me and like, why are we not doing so good in football? I got really tired of them and say like, well, if you don't like it, bring your butts back here and coach.
Do it.
Of course, my young one showed up last year. Like, Pop, I'm coming. Like, where you going? I'm coming to Astoria. For what? They're like, I'm coming back. I'm already talked to Coach Rube. I want to come back and coach because he wants to be a head coach. And I think, well, great if that's what you want to do. And I think that what I love about his influence, and is like, God, he's a totally different kid, or like young man, when I hear him talk to the kids. It's like, where the hell is that Jeremy right there? Because he's in control, right? He knows exactly what he wants to do and where he's going. And that's the thing. If like nowadays that the kids I work with, if they have a plan, man, that's more than most kids, right?
Yeah.
Because it's scary being a kid, right? Like, you ask a kid, what are you gonna do? And the kid can sputter off like, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and not worry about failing, and not worry about, like, great, that's awesome, go do it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why when I with kids, they're like, they don't want to go to school, and they tell me, I want to go to GED. It's like, all right, how can I help you?
That's
What can
like
I help?
one thing that I see when you say, what could you or what you want kids to hear is like I hear try and fail in my life.
Yeah,
I started trying every career out there. I was changing
yeah,
careers every couple of years. And I think it's the greatest thing to try something, not know
right,
anything about it, and fail at it. And in our
yeah.
businesses, me and Chris's, we fail daily with our videos, with marketing, whatever it is, we try certain things, it fails, and you keep trying. You don't get down on
But what an
yourself because it didn't
opportunity that
work.
what a great opportunity for you guys to learn. Like, how
It's
else can you
insane.
learn, right? You can learn so much from that. Or for a kid, like, okay, I'm not doing that crap again,
The
But
one, the one, the
they,
one thing I had to do was change the word fail, and I got that out of my head. You're not failing; you're just learning. Like I
Yeah.
failed a
learning,
lot in life. I actually
yeah,
did fail. Like jail, all that stuff. I'm just learning. You just try stuff. You don't
yeah,
succeed at it. You learn. You try it again. Just
move
don't do it
forward.
that way again. That's the whole point of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you what, I get to, like, if I have a kid I had a kid that hasn't been in school for like almost 2 months. I get to a point and say, listen, how many days can you come to school? Like, I negotiate with them. Like, can you give me 3 days?
Yeah,
It's like, yeah. So it's crazy. I see them more in those 3 days, and it's like, hey, good to see you. Right? All those little things, like
Yeah.
acknowledging the fact that they're there, right? I don't care if they went into class. Sometimes kids show up 100% and they don't go to class. It's like, why are you absent when I saw you at school? It's like, tell me where your secret place where you're taking a nap. Some kids they hide in the bathroom,
Yeah.
and but acknowledging some kids is a crazy thing. You know, it's funny. I went and got a burrito at Guadalajara Combo, and I saw this kid that just trying to get him through school like two and a half years ago or so. Anyway, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" Give him a hug. He's working. He's like, "Yeah, I'm working." And man, I didn't know these bills. He discovered paying bills and being on his own, right? And then that's progress, right? I
yep,
mean, to answer your question earlier about kids who come out of juvenile places and make it, it's no different than a kid that comes out of high school. As long as they're making progress and,
yep.
doing positive things in life, man, that's awesome,
I
so.
Nice.
I guess I got one closing question here. The three of us, all different perspectives of life. I mean, Landon was a cop. Poyer, you've worked with kids, correctional, high schools. Me, I've been incarcerated. If you could leave young people with one message, what would it be? And I mean, my message is your past does not define you. It's not who you are. You could do whatever, and you could wake up another day and rewrite the whole story of the rest of your life. And I mean, I feel like, what do you guys feel like is one message to leave
Well,
for?
I'll let me say this one. I've heard it 100 times. I've smiled 20 times on this podcast because my message is change your mindset. You'll change the
There you
outcome.
go.
I
I've
was
said
waiting
it.
for you to
Uh,
interrupt him and say that because every time he
my
Yeah.
said
hands were
mindset, I could see.
sweating
Yes, yes, I
every
know.
time. I'm
No.
like, that's my saying. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's the biggest message is change your mindset. If they're afraid to fail, fail all the time. Try something new,
Yeah.
do something. Like you're not going to know you don't like it unless you try it.
Yeah,
So
Right.
that's mine is change your mindset, change the outcome.
No, I mean the bottom line is that it falls in all that is because I mean, you can lead the horse to the water, but you cannot make the horse drink, right?
yep,
So
yep,
if that horse's mindset is that he's thirsty, then he'll figure out like, shit, I'm gonna run to the damn water and drink myself. I don't need you to lead me, right? It's changing
Yeah.
that mindset, and that's what it I kind of binds everything together. It's your mindset, and if you think you can do it, you can do it.
I
If you
like
think
it.
you can't,
And
you can't.
you
Yep,
can't, so a lot, that's on anything in life,
Yeah. You're
it's like,
always right.
yeah. So, I try to, that's one of the first thing I try to, change in the, in people out there and kids out there is their mindset. uh and also just to, like, for me, like, what is the one thing to add on to what you to as far as helping kids out, and also just for me as an adult and doing what I do is to follow up, right?
yeah.
It's a lot of adults and people, they say they're gonna do something, but they don't ever follow the hell up, and that makes a difference. So when I give my card to a kid and say, call me if you need me. And if that kid calls me and I don't answer that damn phone, or they text me and I don't respond back, that you just lost all that, that relationship you build. And that's just not for me, but as a parent, right? And if you tell your kid you're
As
gonna be there to watch
business.
a game, yeah, as a business, right?
You're
Anything in life,
you're
so
speaking my
follow up is
language,
important.
Boyer. You're speaking my
Hey, there we
language.
go.
Follow-ups are everything, and I always say what you do what you say. That's my motto. Say what
Yeah,
you do what you say.
yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you say that.
I know.
But anyway, I mean,
So
I just think that it is follow-up is important as well.
Absolutely.
okay, I have just for the followers and people listening, if they want to reach out to you, get in contact with you, what is the best way? Is there website? Is it through the school? Is it in person?
Yeah, yeah,
Facebook?
to the school. School is or Facebook, they can message me. Um,
What's
but
your Facebook?
it's under my name, Faalaeo Poyer.
Okay,
You just type out Poyer and it'll show up. You
and that's
know,
on Facebook. You said.
yeah.
Do you have
Or they
any
can
other
message
social
me.
media?
Yeah, I have Instagram, but I don't really go in there to check it. But yeah, I'm on Facebook. They can message me and email me, or reach out to the school. And the school will, they'll give them my email address so they can email me or my work number.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, we might even check and see if we can put it down
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
description too.
Yeah, that
Well,
sounds good.
I
Poyer,
think that's a good
Poyer,
one.
Poyer, I appreciate you coming on, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, man, I can't believe we talked for about an hour and a half. So I
Yeah.
need to what?
No, we can keep listening, but yeah, I'd say everybody that's following, check us out. Badge and Bars, we're Facebook and YouTube, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, we'll put down at the bottom Poyer's information if it's allowed through the school and all that stuff. But anything else you got to say, Chris?
No, that's it, man. I just appreciate the time with Poyer. It was awesome.
I do too.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Poyer.
you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. This is Badge,
And bars.
and we're signing out. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for
Yes,
listening.
sir.
Like, share, follow. Let's flow.
One served behind the badge, the other served behind bars. Two different paths, two different sides of the justice system, but one common goal: to have real conversation about life, addiction, redemption, and the lessons they learned along the way. No scripts, no politics, no filters, just truth from both sides. This is Badge and Bars.